Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me on this Tuesday evening, November 1st in the Locher Room. I'm Alan Locher. Jessica Dunphy and Agim Kaba are here tonight to look back at their time playing members of the Stewart and Snyder families on one of our favorite daytime dramas, As the World Turns. In addition to her role as Alison Stewart, Jessica portrayed Devin Pillsbury on The Sopranos on the HBO hit series, The Sopranos, and has appeared on film in numerous movies. After modeling, Agim landed his first role as Aaron Snyder on As the World Turns in 2002 and earned an Emmy nomination in 2004. He has appeared on primetime series Charmed and CSI New York, as well as in some horror films, Haunted Forest, Neowolf, and The Last Film Festival. It is my pleasure. I have not seen these two together in a very, very long time. Please welcome Jessica Dunphy and Agim Kaba to the Locher Room. Hello, you two beautiful, not young kids anymore.
Hey.
I was talking backstage. I mean, you and Agim have not seen each other in what, 20 years?
Yeah. Well, no. Well, we were kind of roommates for a little bit, or not roommates. We lived across from each other when I moved to Los Angeles. I lived with Peyton, and then Agim lived with Justin Klosky, who was on Guiding Light. Yeah. So, and it was like Melrose Place because they were townhouses. We didn't have the pool in the middle, but we were all good friends. And so then, so Agim was there for a little bit, and then Agim moved back, I think, to when he went back on the show. And then I would see Agim whenever he came by, and actually his wife, I met her in Los Angeles, and she's fabulous. And so I'm so happy. And I caught up with Agim over the summertime, and we hadn't talked in forever, and it was just so great.
Do you remember meeting each other for the first time?
I don't remember. I met Peyton first because I had a test with Peyton. I hadn't met Jess yet, but I knew Jess was there. So they were warning me about Jessica. They said, this is another character. So then I finally met Jessica.
Yeah. This was when when I burned down the barn. It's like that era where you're always on a motorcycle. They always had you on a motorcycle with your shirt off. Mm-hmm. And this was in the very, very beginning. And
when you burned down the farm, I forgot about that.
Yeah, burned down the barn for the love of Aaron Snyder.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Alison was a little troublemaker. Jess, what do you remember about your audition or screen test for the role?
Oh, so this is so crazy. So I had first gotten The Sopranos. And so I was filming The Sopranos in Queens, which is also where they filmed like Sex and the City and The Sopranos. So I was there filming that morning, and I think I had just it was maybe my first or second day, and I got the call. I think, was it a callback or the audition? I think for the As World Turns, and somehow I got myself to Brooklyn, Avenue M, and
from Queens, from.
Yeah. So wow. I almost didn't make it. And I remember everything kind of just clicked. Like usually auditions, it's a whole, you never feel like so super great about it, but it really went really well. And I do remember when I got the part, and I remember literally jumping, like I was on a trampoline. And I think I found out maybe from the wardrobe that I got the part, because they were asking. It always ends up being that. Do you find that, Agim?
I went in. I mean, the first thought that I went in 4 or 5 times. I don't know why they kept bringing me in. I think they were just screwing around with me. They wanted to see if I could just keep coming back. So by the time they came back the 5th time, there was nobody there, and I think I got the role. Or I got the role.
You both were cast by Jimmy Bohr, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was his last cast, I think. I think he retired after me.
But I started on as a recurring, so then they so I never had to screen test. I did screen testing with Bailey though for
Chris Hughes. For Chris Hughes.
Yes. But I never screen tested initially because I think with the screen test, it was only if it was a contract part, and they didn't know if like where the role was going to go initially.
Right.
Well, I think they also do that a lot of times. Like, if they want you, Jess, they'll have you do that because then it's easier than going through the whole rigmarole.
Yeah. The whole, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I went in the first time. It was just audition for, the big audition. And then the second time, the third time. By the fourth time, I was testing. And then I noticed there was only 4 or 5 other guys with me. So shaking in their boots. and then, yeah, we all got to work with Peyton. And I feel like Christine, too. Or
Christina Cisco.
Oh, Christina Cisco. Oh, I remember.
She was the first person I actually ran into.
Yeah, she's Christina Romero with 2 or 3 children.
Right. Yeah. So
Those
are my first 2 memories was, Peyton, the green room, and Christine. Yeah. That was Abigail. Snyder.
Abigail, I think. Were you both nervous on your first day?
Yes. I don't know about you, but I flubbed my first line and I knew I was going to do it. And once I flubbed it, then I was able to like move past because I just am a very anxious person. So once I was able to get the nerves out, then everything is good. But
who was your first scene with?
My first scene was in a hospital, and I believe it was Greg Montgomery. And I said something like I had a line like that. He
was that Hunt at the time?
Yes, Hunt Block. Yes.
Wow.
We shared the same birthday, me and Hunt.
Oh, you did? I talk to Hunt once in a while. We text.
Usually, I know. He sends me an email every year saying, "Hey, we made another one."
That totally sounds like him. Wow. That I would be nervous with Hunt on my first scene.
Oh, I didn't even know. I mean, it was just like,
yeah.
I felt like, I don't know about you, Agim, but like when we were thrust into it, it was just like this, like everyone was, first of all, I couldn't get over how beautiful everyone was. I was like, in daytime, like I just didn't know the daytime world. And I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone is like the most gorgeous people with like bone structure. I have 0 bone structure. And like, I know, like 0. My manager at the time used to tell me daily that because I was in a love triangle with 2 beautiful models, like how gorgeous their bone structure was. And like, I had like 0 bone structure, but everyone was just so beautiful and everyone was so nice. And just kind of like, it was really, everyone was extremely welcoming and just, it was a really wonderful, like right off the bat, I don't know about you again, but it was super duper comfortable for me. And I'm comfortable in those, but just having that daily routine and
that part was comfortable. I mean, it wasn't the people that I've been to so many studios. We had a pretty beautiful studio full of beautiful people. Yeah. What I feared, what scared me was just the unknown of all of what was happening. The sets, the set managers, the directors, the control tower. I mean, everything was just, hey, have you ever been to a
cycle? Navigate.
Huh?
It's a lot to navigate at any age, but when you're also young and coming in and it's one of your first big things, it's a lot to take in, absorb.
Right. I mean, I had to learn stunts, ride a motorcycle, save somebody from a barn, carry a woman all in the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't done any of that before.
Not to mention never getting like with the lighting and all, just with the block, it was a lot. But
camera blocking.
I should have died in that barn that day.
No.
Jess, was the love triangle you, Chris, and Aaron?
No, in the beginning it was myself, Lucy, and Aaron. So
right. The 3 of you.
So,
yeah.
We were frenemies.
Yes, right. The 3 of you were right. Sorry. Yeah. When you said 2 beautiful people, I was thinking another guy on the other side.
You were thinking you and your husband, and not everything but us.
Oh no! I was talking about just in general, like being thrust into daytime. It was just like it's such an incredible. Like and it was right before the Emmys, and all of a sudden I'm going to the Emmys, and it was just like, it was going from like, you know, growing up outside of Philadelphia and going to New York for auditions and getting parts, you know, like very, you know, like this. And then all of a sudden, once I got the Sopranos right after, and then I'm moving to New York, and then I'm like all of these like beautiful, like it was just, it was, and everyone was so welcoming, and the producers, I thought that they were extremely, like, because we were all new, so they really like took us under their wing, and they were very, very like, they were really cool with us, and just hair and makeup, like it was just a really wonderful place to come every day. And so I know that like usually sets and things aren't like that, but this was like a really
not 100%, right?
Yeah.
And you had, you know, Marie Masters on one side and Kelly Menahan on the other side.
Yes. Well, she had just had her baby when I first came on. So because remember they had that spa.
Yeah. Yeah. All the women were pregnant. Yes.
I didn't meet her, I think, right off the bat. There was a little bit of time before I met her.
Oh,
but
yeah. So she was maybe off having.
She was maybe still on
maternity leave.
Yeah. But everyone was just really wonderful. And then, and with like Peyton and I just, you know, we kind of bonded because we were both, she was from Maryland and outside Baltimore. And so she would go back to see her friends and family over the weekends and then live in New York, and I would do the same. So we kind of bonded with that because it was such a weird age. The game was a little bit older than us, but our friends were still in high school. So all of a sudden we're like, you know, like we got to do all of these like amazing things. And I actually, maybe even before my first day, there was a PR thing that I had to do. And I'll never forget it. It was like that gym thing because of like Terry had like.
Oh, I took you to the New York Sports Club. Was
yeah.
that where?
Do you remember that?
Yes. So Terry Khan became a fitness instructor or something on WOAK. So I created with New York Sports Club sort of, I think it was Katie Peretti's butt busting workout. And so we did a whole PR thing at New York Sports Club where Terry and you were working out with the other folks.
Yes. And I had no idea that like, I mean, I kind of went to Target the day before and got like some like long like sweat, like, and I just like cut off the sleeves. I didn't know what it was going to be like. People were going to take pictures. And then, you know, do you remember that one thing where they would like talk about people's outfits in like in one of the soap magazines? And like, and it was, I don't even think I had started or I hadn't aired yet. And all of a sudden it was like flash dance wannabe. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I thought I was told to come. We were working. I didn't know. I was like, I had no idea. So yeah,
That is so funny. I forgot. Yeah, something. It was the butt busting workout. I don't remember the full name, but yeah, Terry, because she worked at WOAK or something like that. What do you remember about working with Marie?
Oh, Marie, it was so cool. So Marie, she had twins, a boy and a girl, I believe, and then her son was actually named Jesse. Mm-hmm. And before, like when growing up, everyone always called me Jesse, like spelling it like a boy. And I know that her son also, I believe he won a Grammy or like
he did.
Yes,
with Nora Jones.
Yes. But she was just a dynamite like person, just really wonderful and just like someone you would want to hug. That's how she was.
Oh yeah.
Agim, and your family on the show wasn't so bad either.
I mean, I love my family.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed.
Now I know you were not a CBS soap watcher, right? Your family watched ABC or something.
Correct. Yeah.
So you didn't know any of these people when you walked in the door?
We're from the Northeast. ABC dominated the Northeast. I grew up, my mom and would watch All My Children and then One Life to Live and then, anything ABC. So no, I mean, but my family had an idea. I mean, when I told my mom I was on this show, she had an idea of.
All right. Hi, Mom. She's watching.
100%. So yeah, I mean, it was funny when I ended up on a TV show and I was like, Mom, I'm on a soap. You're not going to believe this.
And some fans are different than, or I don't want to say like different, but they're unique fans because you come into their home instead of going to like a cinema. So there's that daily like
connection.
Yes, and so it would be cool, but it would be also funny because in the beginning when I was kind of like a bad girl but misunderstood, and I would be in the grocery store like where I live here in Pennsylvania. And instead of first like coming up and saying like, "Oh, hi, I'm so and so," it would be like, "You're a bad girl." I would always get told, "You're bad."
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah. I mean,
I got quite a few of those.
Yeah.
Did you?
Oh yeah, constantly. Yeah. You shouldn't be treating your dad like that. You know how many people love Holden? They won't.
You got to live up to that Holden Snyder.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best part about the whole experience was, as an actor, watching these other actors who are professionals, Hunt Block. I remember the first interaction with Hunt Block. I remember the first interaction with Johnny Hensley. Martha was, I'll never forget working with Martha. Martha was like, kind of really planted me and kind of, this is somebody who's been on soaps for a long time. And I remember seeing her as a young kid. So the reality started hitting when I started working with people like that. Benjamin Hendrickson. I mean, he taught me more than I think anybody did, strangely enough, because I didn't work with Benji that much, but I rode with Benji every morning.
Oh, in the
I got
car?
to see Benji as an actor, and I got to see Benji as a person, and the way he carried himself. I mean, he didn't speak that much, but Benji spoke quite a bit. He was just one of those characters. And seeing all these people on a daily basis, how they work, how they study, how they interact with people, how they work as professionals, how they talk. These are the things that I took from the show.
I love that. That's sort of Benji's, Benjamin's legacy, that you learned a lot from him just being in his presence.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I remember being in the car, because I lived on 151 West 75th, and Benji lived on the Upper West Side. So I was the first pickup. Then the car would roll around and pick him up, and he'd open the door and he'd look at me and just be like, ugh, just gruntle like, who the hell is this in the car? And I would sit there and, try to just be as quiet as possible. It was hard. He had to time it right because Benji would do that slow turn, and look at you like, what are you doing in the car? So, but as time grew and I didn't get fired after the first 2 weeks. I think he slowly warmed up to me and some of the stories that came out of his mouth and he's just so professional.
You can learn a lot just being in somebody's company. Jess, who do you think you learned the most from there?
Well, it's interesting because there was a lot of people that I was very close with, and then that I worked with, and then in terms of being like really close friends, like, and having like Agim and myself and Peyton, we will always have a very strong bond. But the person that took me under their wing, that I don't think I even had any scenes with on the show, but that would be Sarah Brown, because so we actually became very close, I think in the green room, just from, those interactions that were not on screen. But during that time, she hadn't realized that she had celiac. And so she was getting very sick, and she is from Los Angeles. So she was staying in New York and, having pizza and things like that. And I had just gotten diagnosed with celiac. So I was the weird person that couldn't eat bread. This was like forever ago when people didn't know what that meant. They thought you were crazy.
Yeah.
So
back then, it wasn't right.
Yeah. So we first initially kind of like bonded over that. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, she was literally like, Thanksgiving, come to my house, just that person, like that big sister. And she still is to this day.
Sarah's still like that.
Yeah,
so, I love that. I know that you guys are close.
We became very close with Sarah. All of us did when we all moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah,
when Justin moved into my house in Los Angeles, and then Jessica and Peyton were across the street. Like the whole neighborhood, it's like everybody knew each other.
Would have gone nuts if they walked into that Melrose Place.
We used to walk to the Diamond back in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
No. It was a good.
I just saw Justin posted some Halloween pictures on social media. Justin's a good guy.
Yeah.
Justin's a good guy. Justin's a hardworking, honest guy.
Yes.
And he'll always dress up for Halloween. He is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Halloween.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
Agim and his beautiful family.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
Now, yeah, and my son's a real wolf. So it took my wife 2 years to give birth to him. Yeah, we're like the modern day monsters.
Well, Jess and I just got to meet Iris a little while ago. She popped on before we went live.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, what prompted both of you to become actors in the first place? Jess?
Oh, Agim, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. Mine started in college. I started as a business major in a minor in history, and
back up a minute. What was it about history?
Well, it's not. No, the history part I enjoyed. The business part, I was just, I wasn't having a good time at school. I wanted to just focus more on art, and once I switched my majors from that to art, that's when all of that opened up. And it actually wasn't really the acting. It was more the filmography that got me involved. I started taking filmography in school and then learning how to kind of be a director. And I got involved in all that stuff.
When you say filmography, was it history of film?
No. Yes and no. I guess you can say yes, because when you do filmography, you have to learn. That's what they teach you in the schools. It's the history of film. Mostly you learn Hitchcock films, and an example would be, whenever you see a shot where you see drapes kind of turned, and you see it on the actor's face, it shows a sign of shadiness, and the beginnings of stuff like that. But that's really the beginning. As time progressed, I wasn't sure, and I was at the neighborhood playhouse. That's where I started, for a little bit, till my teacher got pissed off because I started smoking a cigarette in the hallway, and he said he's the only one that's allowed to smoke here. So I said, okay. Didn't start off good. Anyway, so I started doing that, and then I remember I was in the fashion industry, which was another new thing for me. I'm not a 6'2" model. More the opposite. I wasn't sure why they wanted me. Nonetheless, I started modeling, and I told them I would do that if they would somehow help me get into auditions. You're talking 1999. You're either in LA or in New York, or that's it. You're not acting. Yeah. You have a manager or an agent. There's no YouTube. There's no reality TV. There's 30, 40 channels. That's it. You're in or you're out. The same casting directors. Everybody knew each other. This is a small world. Just 20 years ago. So they made me a promise and said, listen, you model, we'll get you on TV. Now, this didn't go well, because now at this point, I'm getting excited. Now I'm like preparing to turn into an actor, whatever you want to call it. I'm into it. And then years go by. I ended up going to Milan. I lived in Italy. I did fashion. I did runways. I went to England. I did the whole 9 yards, and came back. And I remember telling my agency, listen, I'm done. You told me you'd send me out for auditions, and nothing's materialized. And the next day they sent me to As the World Turns.
Wow.
So that flipped after 3-4 weeks. You know, it went from like, hey, here's your audition, Mr. Actor, to like, now they're starting a whole new branch in their modeling department for actors, you know? So it was a wild ride. It all happened super quick. So I guess the second I thought about being an actor is just so meshed from the point of when I began. And it's almost like premeditated in terms. You put something in front of you and you focus and you make the leap, and it could happen.
I didn't remember it was that quick of you telling them like you were, you know.
Well, a couple of years had gone by, and that was kind of the whole deal. But you know, and I was happy in the meantime. I was going to school. I had other jobs. And I was doing my best to stay involved in acting and learn more. You know, it all just kind of happened fast. But I asked for it. I put myself out there, and I got myself involved. And you know, you can get discovered for things, but if you really want something serious, you gotta push. And at some point in my life, I pushed really hard for this.
And you got to study, like you said.
That's it, you know. And you know, and then you're in it, and then you have Christopher Goutman screaming at you, and then you have all these people yelling at you, and then you know, it's like everything in life. You think you know, but you don't. You learn, and then you just kind of go with it, and that's it. You know, now it's running around. I can't even believe where time's going.
Well, I mean, the thought that it is 20 years since we went out on that bus tour is insane.
Yeah.
The fact that we had our faces on buses is insane. Like, I mean, everything like that all of these cool things that we were able to experience in retrospect. I know. Right?
That's your reaction. That picture. Of
I didn't see that react. Oh my God.
That's you guys.
Look at, oh my gosh.
I took you out to see the bus for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
I think the highlight of that trip, and you guys might agree with me, was being escorted in DC.
I remember that.
I felt like the president.
Oh, and remember the home of the Throwed Bagels?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean that, you know, just talking about that. I mean, do you realize that was created around the three of you?
It's amazing. Like, I can't even imagine like what, I mean, there was so much put into it, and everything I think because Agim and myself and Peyton, we were working so much during that time that it was like learning lines, like doing whatever we had to do press beforehand. I remember we had a lot of radio interviews, but it was kind of like I couldn't even absorb all of the coolness until like I'm able to reminisce about it now. And
right. I was thinking about that. I mean, here I put this to look at this.
Oh my God. I have a green face one too. Me and Peyton in green face. I never know that Agim in green face.
I mean, Agim.
Al, you look like you're 12.
Yeah, well, you know, 20 years ago. I love the bunny picture, Agim.
Oh.
I know.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, all of it built around your three characters.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, and I
feel like it was the last big event that happened at World Turns that they splurged on a little bit.
Probably, you know, something as large as that. I mean, a 10-city. You know, Mary Clay and I went out 2 weeks before casting everybody.
I remember that.
You know, and that's the other thing that did was it gave so many other young kids their big break. Mm-hmm. You know, on TV for the first time.
I know.
Yeah, so many different things. I have a really close friend that I met at the University of Pittsburgh. You know, he came out to audition, and we've been friends ever since that day.
I remember that. God, I remember that.
Yeah, it's great. It really is.
I flew to Hawaii after that whole deal. My trip didn't even end there.
What was that for? A vacation?
It's for guests.
Yeah. Then he became.
I remember that now.
I think I told.
I do remember.
I got on the phone and you said, "Who was that?" And I told you. You were the first person I told. Wow. And then I had to leave from St. Louis straight to Maui.
Yeah, because we were supposed to end in New Orleans, but was that Katrina?
No. But it was a hurricane. It wasn't Katrina though.
It was right.
A hurricane
long after, right?
Yes. But yeah, I do remember
Approved.
we were making our way, and then we had to go back. Did we go back to St. Louis? Was that?
We did. We went to a different store.
That's where I left.
Yeah.
Everybody went home, and I went to.
We went. Oh, that's why you weren't at the. I don't think you were at the party.
What? Well, were we not?
I had to. We were.
Yeah. I just found that picture. I almost showed that picture.
Oh, I had that.
I'll send it to you. I have that picture of you and Peyton with the character.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'll send it. I just was looking at it today. Yeah, that's so. I mean, we traveled on a bus.
That's the restaurant where they were throwing bread at us.
Yeah,
the home of the throwed bagels
in the bottom corner. That's all of us at that restaurant. Agim.
I remember that day.
Yes.
That was that was the great supper, man.
I don't know. That might have been in St. Louis on the way, on the first, because we started in St. Louis and went somewhere else. So when we were going to Indiana, we might have stopped there. I don't really remember.
I remember that dinner, though. I remember it was good.
Oh, my God. It was so fun.
Yeah.
No, there were so many. I mean, it was hard work, but it was something,
And the car, again, remember the blue car that was that we used for filming, and it literally had it was like a Fred Flintstone car. It had like no bottom.
Three cars, four.
Wow,
Like,
Debbie just commented the place was called Lambert's, which is true.
Lambert, that's it.
Lambert's, home of the throwing roll.
I will never forget the home of the throwed rolls.
Yes, thank you, Debbie. That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. When you were talking just about being accosted in a grocery store, Rick pointed out Eileen Fulton used to get slapped all the time when she was first on the show because she was a bad girl.
Yeah. Oh,
so back in the day, she would be stopped on the street and people would really not be very nice. Not be very nice.
They were super nice to me, but they let me know that I was a troublemaker and that they wouldn't tolerate that from their child. And I was like, I agree with you.
That is so funny. Yeah, I mean they're so vocal and they remember. I mean, everybody's really excited to see you both. One of the fans was asking, Jess, did you ever meet Marnie?
Oh my gosh, I never got to meet her. And I saw that she passed, and it was
tragic.
Really, it was extremely heartbreaking, and it was like
tragic loss.
And I've never met her, but it was something where because as World Turns family, it was just like it felt
you're
like
connected. You're connected. I just saw a picture of her husband with her daughter on Halloween, which was beautiful. Which was really beautiful. Did either of you work with Kathy Hayes much?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Because Kathy passed in May, and we're going to do a tribute soon to her.
Oh my gosh, I worked with Kathy.
So sweet, Kathy.
With when I dated Chris Hughes.
When you dated, right.
So she was not. So we had actually some funny segments because. Remember when I was working at the nightclub with Aaron? Remember when I was working at Metro, and I would put on I remember a scene where I had a pink bathrobe and a funny thing for my hair, and we were living with Chris Hughes's parents because
with Dr. Bob and Tim.
Yes, but I would rip it off and go to Metro so I could work in Metro. And I would have stuff, and she would look at me like,
"Yeah,
that's great.
You were right in the studio."
That's so funny. I totally forgot about that.
I did too.
I have a weird memory. I remember crazy details. Probably
Was there anything you look back, anything that was really tough for you to do?
Like on set?
Yeah, a scene, a particular storyline.
I mean, I think in general soaps, it's just the volume of stuff you have. I mean, that's something that I think a lot of other actors just can't wrap their head around. When you have 40, 50 pages to memorize, that's all you're thinking about.
You don't know how you're getting through the day.
Yeah, it's more about, how am I going to get through the day? How am I going to do these scenes? There's so many different things that are involved. Anytime I have to ride a bike though, or pick somebody up, it doesn't help.
I had I felt like when I had very sad stuff going on, like when I fell off the roof, lost your baby, Agim, all of the things.
Never gonna forgive you.
Yeah, when I had that whole like where I was crying like every day, I came home and like every night I'd come home and I'd have like puffy eyes and like then go like so that was kind of like that didn't feel because you come home with those feelings when you're but it was so crazy because we did have a large amount of scenes depending on which day because we could do multiple shows in one day depending on how it was all grouped together. And I had this weird OCD thing where with my scripts, each one was like a different, I had like a highlighter of a different color and I would put like a thing and then I'd sleep with my scripts. And then, and in the morning I'd put on my robe and then we would have our dry rehearsal and then I'd like put my notes, but just kind of keeping all of the scenes and stuff together. I had like my own way of just.
Was that a way that somebody taught you or just how you?
It started and then I was compulsive about it. Like everything had to do that because in order to separate each thing, and then you'd have to move on to the next scene. And when Chris Gottman, our executive producer, would direct, he wouldn't even want to do a dress rehearsal. Remember that again? He would go straight to tape.
Let's go.
To tape. And so it was like, yeah. But I there were some times I remember having certain monologues and I literally don't know what came out of because it was just like it was like when we were working quite a lot, you're trying to do the best job you can do, and like there's some days where you felt like, oh, I did a great job, and then other times like I don't know how all of that came out of me. And I think about this one scene with your former guest, Rick the serial killer.
Yes, John James.
Yes, John James, who was awesome. So John James, when he tried to kill me, Dr. Death. So Dr. Death tried to kill me, and then I had this whole thing where they thought I was
Dr. Rick Decker.
Yes, Dr. Decker. And but I remember it was like 2 pages, and it was after like all these other scenes, and I'm explaining how like I was able to like pull this file, and so I didn't end up dying, but I had this whole explanation, and literally in some of those places I don't know what came out of me, but at the end after like you're done the scene, they always in the back room they're looking at the tape. Yes, but they're looking at the tape and I'm like, and there'd be those times where you'd be like, buy it, like and then it's not going to come out of me again. Remember those times a game where you're like,
I mean, it's like I said, it's a combination of like, I mean, I've done scenes where it's like, wow, and then 2 minutes later, like we're gonna have to do it again because we didn't hear any of it, and it's like, whoa, So I mean, even when you get it right, sometimes you're thinking like, or like, listen, Jessica's had monologue, and then I'll be like, say the wrong thing, and like Jessica's got to do it again.
When you call me the candy stripper instead of the candy striper, that there's a couple things.
How do you remember that?
Because they actually had some of my outtakes that they sold, I think, to one of those comedy shows in like in England. So like
bloopers.
Yes, and my bloopers, and I had another one with Chris Hughes where I after this really long scene, and I was saying, Chris, I don't want your dad going down on you. And so that was also a part of the yes. And so that ended up being that. And I think probably some other things with being a waitress.
Oh my God, I don't want your dad going down.
Yeah, so that was
Dr.
another
Bob,
one of my
that's a horrible.
I know. That was, and it was in a really serious scene. And after like we had done like a 3 or 4 pager, and it was like a heartfelt moment. And yeah, they couldn't accept that. They couldn't accept that. A little too much.
That's wild. I don't remember, and it, I apologize. Did you all decide to leave, or the show pushed you out at that time?
We all decided to. However, it was like, because we were so new, it was one of those things where, I don't know about you, Agim, but I know I myself, and I'm sure that Peyton felt this as well, is, you were told many different things to do and pointing in different, like, you have to go to Los Angeles, you have to do this. And I absolutely love the show. And I know that in my jewelry box, I actually found this last night. I have a Tiffany as, like, it's a world, like, keychain that Chris Goutman gave me when I left. But I left because I was told, like, we're not told, but
encouraged to go try your luck. Yeah.
And it was such a wonderful place to work. And it was just really wonderful. But all of us, it was like, you have to go to Los Angeles. I mean, they're two different.
Everybody has a different journey, but a lot of people do say, do it while you're young if you're going to do it.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where, you just didn't, like, we finally were comfortable in a sense, and then but I really enjoyed every part of it, and I also understand that, like, most sets aren't like that, and it probably didn't always stay the same, because it really depends on the producers, and there wasn't that any weird vibes, or things changed over time, but in different ways, but it was just an extremely pleasant place to work, and we were all such good friends, and it was really just such a highlight when I think about those memories. So
yeah, I mean, it's a combination of being young, giving promises, you name it, it's all there. But when I look back at it,
Again, what happened to your light?
Oh, it's getting dark here.
I know. You need to turn the light on in the room.
I know. Can you still see me?
We can, but you're a little dark.
a little flashlight.
Yeah.
Are you afraid of the dark?
Turn on your phone.
I'll get some light here in a minute. It was a combination of all that stuff. And then, I met my wife in Los Angeles. And I got to tell you, some of the best memories I've ever had in my life were in that time when I did leave. I feel like I learned the most about my work, most about myself. And I never really made the full move to Los Angeles. I kept my place in New York. I was back and forth all the time. LA and New York and back and forth. And then eventually I ended up back on As the World Turns. So I got my wife, went back, and I
got my wife.
So it was okay for me. But I mean, I could have taken more time in that room. But it's the business. Forget it. I mean, Goutman's just one executive I've worked with and dealt with and all that stuff. So
he's Professor Goutman to you both now.
Is he?
He teaches at NYU.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
Christopher Goutman knows everything there is to know about producing a TV show.
He really worked his tail off.
Yes, he did.
I mean,
he really did. Jess, do you miss acting?
It's interesting that you say that. As fond as all of my memories are, it wasn't the acting, it wasn't that part of it, but it was the business side of it, and it was like, I have phonophobia, so it's a big deal. Like, I'm not on social media, and at the time we were on World Turns, this was like
You have
Like
which phobia?
I have phonophobia, where I like talking on the phone. Like, it's a joke.
Oh.
Oh, it's like I didn't know you.
Wait. Okay.
I'm so
Sorry.
I don't like to be in the center of it. Like, it makes me very anxious. And so the fact, it doesn't make any sense that I wanted to be an actress when I was younger, but it didn't. So I know it like doesn't make any sense.
And I didn't hear your story. We got sidetracked.
Oh, well, basically, it's weird. I think about it now. Just my intrigue in it all, because I don't like to be in the spotlight, yet I really wanted to do acting. And I have an older sister who was really good at like dance, and I wasn't good at dance, and or lacrosse. I wasn't good at lacrosse. And I remember finally finding something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to take acting classes. And I remember begging my mother, and then I started taking acting classes in Philadelphia every Saturday. And from there, here's an interesting story. My manager, do you know the Goldbergs?
Yes, I love the Goldbergs.
She was on one of the shows, the Goldbergs. So actually, right now I'm in Jenkintown, which is where the Goldbergs.
Yes.
So she was there.
Is that where you're from?
Yes.
I didn't realize. Get out of here.
Yes. So she managed them, and she managed people in this area. So, and she actually
I'm in Jenkintown. I love it.
Yeah, and she was on an episode with her husband. So Edie Robb, and she has a voice like everyone knows Edie Robb.
Yeah, I know the
hey,
name.
Bluff, hey,
Yeah.
be like, hey, ugly. So her husband had the acting studio in Philadelphia, and then she had a place in New York and did the manager. And then at one point we had met because he wanted to introduce, and then I started coming into New York to do auditions. So I take the train to audition in New York, and you know it's all over the place. You know, will have like an audition for, like, even in the very, very beginning, like a no smoking commercial, you know, like, or thing like on at schools, you know, like that they have those don't smoke and
PSA or something.
Yeah, I think I did. That's actually, or like just the most random things. So I would, you know, take the trip to, and then sometimes it would be something more interesting, but and I slowly kind of would get parts, but you know, it was a feeling of like, it was kind of, you know, there is that frustration, because it's like when you get something, it's really good, but then you don't for a really long time. It's like, it doesn't matter how hard you're working if you're not getting the part. And then it was immediately like going from the Sopranos to World Turns to like moving to New York and being able to live in New York by myself at 17 years old. So it was like literally going from so long of like putting in that effort. And I remember one film that I did, it was a Todd Solondz film, and I had it was kind of maybe even a little bit risque. There were some scenes, but I mean, like, not like bad, but it was kind of like, I would guess controversial, because that he's kind of artsy films that are kind of controversial. But I remember one summer working on that film the entire time, and then to find out that like it was cut. I was like in like 3 scenes or something. And he actually wrote me a really kind note and like whatnot. But it's like those kinds of things where I'm like, I thought that was gonna be like my big break. And like John Goodman was in that movie, Selma Blair was in the movie, and like that was like the first, you know. And I had actually, prior to that, I did a NYU, you know, when they do the film students do their shorts.
Short film or something.
Yes, and it's called Chaperone, and I filmed that in Indiana. And so that was like my first experience of like really bonding in that kind of, because it's a different kind of thing than just doing an episodic or, you know, going into or going into the studio for a couple days. But when you start building relationships with people, like the way that our studio, it's like, it didn't feel the nerves that I would have gotten now. I didn't feel that, because you would go into work like you would do it every day, you know? And so it was just, that pace was just so nice, and not having that pressure of just like all like, constantly like, you know, like.
So it's a tough business. It's not an easy one. And a game, you're ready to tackle it again.
Well, listen, man. I'm ready to tackle anything, Alan.
Wow.
This it doesn't matter. I mean, you know, and I was telling you earlier, the beauty about entertainment, anything in the arts, there's no expiration. You know, I can't play soccer like I used to. I try to. I tell people I can. But I can't. You know, I always believe that acting is something that, you know, you grow better with over time, you know, because you change as a person. And that's the most important part, because you're the person.
Well, I think life experiences help acting as well, for sure.
Yeah. And of course, you know, the whole industry is there's an attitude to the industry. And, you know, not a lot of people can deal with this attitude or digest it. So, you know, after you grow with it and you have it, you leave, you come back, you do this a few times, you grow, you know, you just have a better handling with things. You know, you won't have outbursts with casting directors. You won't have little things that you would just make a mistake with when you were younger.
Well, that's, you know, sort of just age too.
Age, right. And of course, when you do something like a soap opera, it's a luxury. You know, my 9-to-5 job was a soap. Not many actors can say that.
Yeah.
So, you know, after this keeps going on, what was a hobby became your life. And reversing this is very difficult, you know, but it's how life is. And, you know, I'm at a point now in my life where it could be a fun hobby again. And it can
absolutely it can be a hobby, because you have a profession.
Well, it's not even that. It's a little bit of that, but at the same time, again, it's just mental growth where my head is stronger. You know, I just feel like big deal. You know, sometimes you know, Jess, and you can say this. I mean, I remember being on castings, thousands of them, where it just ruined your whole weekend. Nothing like that can ruin my weekend anymore.
Because you have beautiful children that'll give you a big hug.
Right. Yeah. But I
talk about those two little ones and how they've changed your life.
Well, I mean, my God, I remember when my son was about 4.5, and I remember still dragging onto my old habits. And I remember waking up that day thinking, I can't do that anymore. You know, and things just have to change. And I vividly remember that day, because I don't know what I was doing. It was just unimportant, but I was doing it. And then I realized that my whole life of habits had to change. And, you know, now they're growing. I mean, they talk back to me. So,
good for them. No.
They're good. You know, they sneak in bed and hug you. I mean, I don't know. It's just different. And
well, I can't imagine. You know, Jess and I watched that big hug she just gave you. So, you know.
I mean, kids are my passion. I love my family, and I feel like, you know, and this is just my opinion. This is just where I am in my life. I just feel like a lot of my life, if I put it in front of me and I want it, it's almost premeditated. You know, I'm happy I left the show. I met my wife. I'm happy I went back on. I'm happy I left. I'm happy I did this. So the good news is I'm never living in regret. So I must be doing something right.
Well, it's lovely to see you so happy with your family.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think both of us knowing you as a, you know, young kid in your 20s is a lot different than seeing you as a dad.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, the old habits die hard, but you know, it's fun because they're teaching me.
I bet they are.
teaching me, and I don't know, the leaves flipped, and you start realizing it all was just kind of should have happened and supposed to happen, and now you're here.
Well, you didn't send me some of your art, but I'm curious.
Oh,
I know you paint a lot. Where did your love of that? I think we talked about it back when we did the first show.
I think my love of art kind of takes over everything. It's the reason I feel like I am who I am. It's the reason that I even took a chance in acting. It's the reason that a lot of things happen. My wife is artistic. It's the reason I connected with her. It's, art is the river inside my body. So I'm super sensitive to how people think. I'm super sensitive how people feel, and I think it's important to have those values as an actor.
Have you seen some of his work, his paintings? I know that when you lived in the East Village, I lived in the West Village. So when you lived in the East Village, Kimberly, who was one of our makeup artists, so she was an artist as well. And I do remember your easel and some of your stuff there.
Yeah.
But since then, I'm not familiar.
Well, I remember you doing that back then, but maybe I just,
Well, I mean, that's what I did all the time until.
Oh.
Hi, beautiful.
Okay, Daddy will be right there. Okay. I
mean, is that your son or your daughter? Because it's dark.
Yeah, I know. It's my daughter.
It is your daughter.
Yeah. Listen, up until As the World Turns, that's what I did every day was the art. And then, Friday came along and Goutman's telling me to check my mailbox and I see 5 scripts. And then I realized
painting went by the wayside.
Well, I had to stop, but it was just impossible. I was sleeping like Jess says, you sleep with your scripts. Mm-hmm. You wake up in the morning, you eat breakfast, you're looking at your scripts. And then you get to the office and you're looking for Peyton and Jessica so you can read your scripts. Yes. And then they're shaking, and then you're realizing it wasn't just you all night. And then you go on set, and then havoc.
Well, and then you finish your scene, and then all of a sudden you have to forget all of that, and then go to your next one. So it was the pace was a lot.
What's that toy or stuffed animal?
This is my little mini me. Yeah, she's dances, jumps around, sings. I mean, I don't know.
It's so crazy seeing you as a father.
I know it really does a lot to see.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if I should. Yeah, you're not supposed to be in here with me right now. I want to. You want to? Okay. Well, this is my little girl. So
daddy's little girl. Hey, Jess, what was the experience like for you on The Sopranos?
So for The Sopranos, it was very cool. And the first episode, Steve Buscemi directed it. Oh, and wow. So people don't know this, but he was directing it before he was even on the show. So he was in, I remember that audition, it was like an audition and then on another one, it kept going. And then I remember him being in the room and like 1 million people for the audition. I don't know how because I have the worst nerves, and I remember when I would, before an audition in Los Angeles, and I become like,
you'd have a meltdown.
And then afterwards it's like, oh my God, that's over.
Forget it. I mean, the whole city was on fire.
Yeah, but
he was a real fireman, Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, he was also he was really a cool person, and I after I was on the show, I have to just point out how funny it is with New York. I ran into him in like two separate occasions, just literally on the street, where some random man's coming up to me, and it took me a second to realize it was him, and being like, "Oh, hi!" But super amazing. And so here's what was really cool. So my character, she was supposed to be this extremely wealthy, but like this blue blood, have Picasso's on your wall and all that. And so they rented an estate in New Jersey. I would have to like dig up stuff to find out where it was. But it had, and there were some things that they didn't show on my episode, but it had a helicopter landing thing, and they yes, and we actually Robert Eiler and myself, we spent the night there. I had one wing, and then he had his wing, and it was just this enormous, like, gorgeous estate. And then we, like, the car, like, there was all of these things that some of the fancy stuff they don't even end up showing you. But yeah, the cars and the helicopter. And so that was super duper cool. And like, there was literally a Cinderella ballroom. And we got to spend it.
I was so late to that show. I literally only watched it in the last 10 years. And I don't know why I didn't, but it was brilliant. You were great. It just was such a well-written, I mean, the cast.
Oh, yeah.
And they were super close-knit. So when I came on, I became friends with Robert, and then, but you're on, there's certain episodes. The first episode was when I was on the most, and then there were other ones where they would kind of bring me back, and I was on, doing this or that.
Yeah, but I mean, you're part of one of the most popular shows ever made.
Oh yes, and so, just what I was like referring to is just the bond. So they have a super big bond, but like when you come on, like, and I became friends with Rob, but you don't necessarily, the interaction isn't like with like World Turns, where it was like, that was like our bond, like we had our bond, but it was really cool. And they were super duper awesome. And like in New Jersey, we'd film at the house, which was like their actual house. And when we had the swimming pool, when we did Marco Polo, that episode, and there were a couple other ones, but there was the actual house and then the interior scenes where we would film those in the studio. So I got to do both of that and get directed by Steve Buscemi. He was actually just he was really, really nice. And the fact that I would I'd randomly run into him, and the most, like, just a great director to work with as well, because I was super newbie, and
what a year for you that was.
Yeah, it was so exciting. And just like, I just remember jumping up and jumping up and down, like just being like so like excited that it's like finally I get the part.
I bet. Well, one of the fans, Silver Star, said, "I just wanted to say that you guys on As the World Turns are some of my earliest memories. I still hold these memories very dear, and this made me very emotional watching this, emotional in a good way." Tomorrow is, I think, his 22nd birthday. So think how young he was if he was watching both of you back in the day on As the World Turns.
That's like so extremely touching, because I feel like my memories, especially being at the age I was, and they were so, like, it makes me want to cry when I think about just like all of like really good memories, that it was like it was something really special that we were all able to share, that I've never gotten in any other acting kind of setting. And just the fact that other people could see how much we enjoyed each other. And that's actually one of the reasons I reached out to Agim. I was watching the Only Murders in the Building over the summer, and I was having a couple margaritas and seeing how much fun Selena Gomez was having with the cast. And I'm like, they love each other. And I was like, oh my God, this is how, you could tell. You know how you can tell that they just have the most fun on set, and they just have they're the three amigos, but with Selena Gomez.
Yeah.
And but literally I texted Agim, and then
so was Agim Steve Martin or Martin Short?
Well, no, it was just like, I just thought,
I know what you mean.
And how, even though we hadn't spoken in forever, how much we really have so much love for each other, and that we will always have the bond. And we spoke about this when we were catching up on the phone, how it's just to be able to talk about all of these funny memories. It is just it just makes me smile. They were so.
I'm gonna remember the candy stripper for a while now.
Forgot about
It is so good to see you both. Really, I'm so glad we did this.
It's always good to see you, Alan. Jessica, always good to see you.
I did try to get your sister Kelly here, but I knew she was busy and trying to get away from a meeting. She wanted to say hello.
Oh, tell her I said hello. And,
I will.
And I've seen some pictures because I Google stalk, but but she looks amazing, and her kids, which were very young at the time.
Her kids are beautiful.
I know, beyond beautiful, and I'm so happy for her.
Her daughter Sophie lives in California. Sophie May lives in California. So
is Kelly watching right now?
No. I was trying to get her to stop by, but she had something going on. She was trying to get out of. She was trying to get out of. Well, you both stay very well. If you make it, well, we're not far. We'll keep in touch, Jess, and I'll send you that picture of you and Peyton. I'll send you that picture of you and Peyton right now. Again, go hug those kids. Thank you for spending the time.
Okay, guys. We'll see you later.
All right.
Bye, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed that little trip down memory lane. I know I did. Thanks to Jess and Agim for stopping by. Please join me tomorrow at 3 Eastern when Yogi Roth, the Emmy Award-winning Pac-12 football analyst, filmmaker, and New York Times bestselling author, joins me live. And then on Thursday, Wendy Moniz and Jen Landon will join me live at 3 p.m. to talk about season 5 of Yellowstone. Thanks for watching tonight. If you like this show, click the like button, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.